Welcome back to another episode of Enter the Flozone podcast. I'm your host, Sumet Chatterjee. And once again, we have an incredible guest for you guys. Man, welcome to the Master Pyro, a phenom of a videographer, someone with extraordinary talent, here to talk about his process, his art. You know, he's behind the camera. He's like a ninja, he's a warrior monk, and he is on the AZD process. If you guys are unfamiliar with that, shoot either of us a message and we'll let you know what it's about. It's not for everybody, but for the people that it's for, it's definitely for them. And he's the official videographer in charge of film and photography for IMC. And that is our tribe. So thank you for being here, brother. How are you feeling?
Man, thank you, man. Salute to you for having me on and allowing me to speak on my process and to share my my perspective of this thing we call life. So thank you, bro.
You're welcome, man. So, man, I have so many questions to ask, but I think one of the things is, I'm really curious about your intro into this journey. So if you could talk a little bit about back when you first got started, maybe when you picked up your first camera or something like that,
Yeah, man.
Tell people about that process.
Oh, man, what a beautiful thing, man, because it's just like, it's one of those things that's like almost wasn't supposed to happen, but happened. I was in college and whatnot, doing the whole college thing and learning about psychology, and I was learning about the mind and just willpower, the psychological aspect of it and things of that nature. And that's when I started being familiar with game and whatnot. But long story short, I just got really obsessed with this knowledge of just transforming your mind and just knowing how you can do this through NLP and different techniques, just techniques of the mind. So, to speak on it, I got to have a camera. I got to record myself, put myself out there, things of that nature. And the thing is that all I had was a laptop. So that was it. And then I was like, you know what, let me, I lived in Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico is a beautiful island in the Caribbean. And I was like, look, let me just take my camera around the island so that I can help attract, what I'm speaking on and things of that nature. And just from doing that, just took the whole spin in my journey, because as I was speaking at that time, I didn't really have a bona fide journey. I didn't have something I really chased after to become great in, to communicate through, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I find myself here today, because just for me discovering about a camera and just going through that whole path of learning it, meeting people, trying to see how good I can actually get, being intrigued about film and how you can make something cinematic and what does that even mean? Man, it was like a rabbit hole within itself, and all that generated its own story, its own vibe, to now where I can be on a podcast like this now to talk about that journey that I was once missing in the beginning of me just wanting to just speak and just communicate this power of just the mind and the power of just dreaming, things of that nature.
Wow, man. So you just had one laptop and you just started. You were like, let's go.
Bro, I have that on my Facebook, one of my Facebook pages when I first started. And yeah, just right there on the laptop. I remember just making it on the laptop, posting my laptop in different parts of the house. And then I was like, you know what? I'm in Puerto Rico, bro. I gotta show people the island and more of that. And then I started like vlogging, showing more. So I would vlog with like a speech in the middle of the vlog, in that area type of thing, how I got to that mind, all those things, man. And just a venture. But it's just amazing to see how you can want one thing, and to be able to achieve this thing, you have to take a whole nother route. And like I tell people, or I teach people that study with me now, my clients, is that a lot of people, when they go through their journey, they end up losing this initial spark of why they even went down this path. And even though you might have dropped it per se to get this whatever you got to go through, but you can't lose the energy and the foresight of what even drove you to even get started, and that's what kept my flame alive and my passion.
That's excellent, man. Yeah, totally right. Like, when someone's talking about a big dream or a big project that they're doing, oftentimes other people don't have that same vibe, that same emotion. And so they're coming from a neutral zone, right? So when you're talking about it, you're excited, and sometimes you might not get that excitement back, but it's important to accumulate that inner world and keep yourself going, keep yourself motivated.
It's everything. Yeah. It's literally everything, man. Inner world is everything. That's literally how I got here. That's why I feel like it's more important for me to make sure I speak on this, because for too much, I just feel like it's not out there enough to let people know how powerful it really is for you to really focus on your own inner world, and how possible it is for you to influence your outer world. The moment you really just figure out what that is and how that feels like, and what does it take to do those things. And that's what just struck the curiosity for me to keep growing in it. Because once I started seeing things change, because I took a moment in my life, like, all right, I'm gonna really just try this out for 3 months. Let me see what's really gonna change in my life. And when you really put that focus of like a time block for your own self, and to see what can really help you, you really start seeing shit. You're like, no, let me take it to the next level, and I just become obsessed with it, man. Why stop? Why stop growing when you know you can keep going? You know?
Absolutely, man. That's that creative control, man, for sure.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely, man. Well, yeah, I definitely see that. You know, I worked with a lot of artists and things like this before, and they're definitely in their own dimension, in their own world, you know, that
Yeah.
they're creating constantly.
Yes.
And man, my question is, like, when you have a client, or let's say that you're working with a specific model, in that process, what exactly are you taking them through? Are you giving them visualizations to do? Are you giving them, you know, different things to work on? Like, what is a process for just a complete, maybe they're a newbie model? Like, what would you tell them?
Yeah, 100%, man. It's just that you have to. So the thing is that, like you said, like every artist, every creator, and whatever it is that they're creating in any path, they have to be in their own world, and they have to foresee what they're doing. And so with me as a filmmaker, you know, and things of that nature, I have to already see what I'm going to create on the film. You know, I have to see it. And with them, I might, when I see them, because I always tell them when I'm shooting with a model, there's moments where I'm just there staring at the space that we're going to be creating. And I'm looking, and it's like a moment of silence. And I always tell them, I'm like, listen, right now I'm visualizing you moving in this space right now. So just give me a second. So as I'm doing that, I notice that they always tend to look at the same space too. And they end up seeing themselves in the same space. You see what I'm saying? But what I do is I just guide them with whatever I see. And I ask them, you know, how do you feel about doing this, that, and the third? And then we kind of just I start to mend and blend both of our images that we had of that same space together. And that's where I feel like I can really I think that's what everybody sees in my filmmaking. Is just that relativity between the camera and the movement of the camera and the subject of the camera, you know. And it's that. So walking them through what I'm seeing, and just having them have their own creative space and creating as well in the same space that I'm creating, and just allowing it to flow. You know, I know they're not going to see exactly what I see, of course not. I'm not going to see exactly what they're going to see as well, but there are going to be some elements that we can agree on, and as long as we can hold on to those and bridge those as we're moving in the craft, it comes out just bomb every single time.
That's awesome, man. So what is a particular process that you go through to tap in and get into the flow state? For the people listening, tap in is a term that we use in IMC Nation for the flow state, in a sense, where we connect to that power. So
Yes.
yeah,
So
what is your process for doing that?
so exactly that, just like exactly what the frame, the name, you know, the frame of what we're using, which is to tap in, is at some point I kind of disconnect from whatever I think is outside of me, and I just go internal, whatever I can conceive and perceive that as, right? And I start listening to certain music. I make I do certain movements with my body, things of that nature, most of them in yoga poses, or just hands and motions, things of that nature, whatever that may be. And I keep doing that until I feel emotion or energy and motion inside my body, right? And once I start to amplify and I actually feel it, like I can locate it inside, then I start to pay attention to what my third eye sees, whatever I can see, pictures or images moving in my mind. So me being a filmmaker, it's for me, like, okay, so if you look at 97% of all the films I've made, all of it has been on the spot making. little to none of it has been premeditated or me having a storyboard, things of that nature. Everything is organic in the moment as it's unfolding, all of it, like all of it. So with me, it's very easy for me to turn an image that might flash in my mind into a moving image, a motion picture. That's what we call a movie, a motion picture. It's a picture in motion. So I'm very good at doing that. So once I'm able to channel the emotions and I can see images flashing, and then I can grab one and then I can make it move and I can connect to that, that's where I stay at. I stay there until that happens for me. I don't move until that happens. You know, and sometimes it might not have all the way. So maybe I might just get the image and then I'll just work with just the image alone. So this has been my internal process before I go to a shoot. And this happens very quickly. Like this happens very quick. I'll be like on the way driving, listen to a certain song. I might hear a certain song. I might move, I might dance, I might sing along with it until I can channel it, you know, that feeling just moving through my body. Whatever's internal, I'm not worried about anything external, how that makes me feel, just whatever I can make myself feel internally in my own world. That has been my process, and that's how I just lock into.
Awesome, man. And it's like that idea of, you know, like you said, motion picture, and then you said the word emotion. So if we add energy to the motion picture, then it becomes an emotion, and it starts to create, right, that energy with that structure in place, which is an
Yes.
organic one, right? Is created in the moment.
So beautiful, man. It's so beautiful because, man, I just feel like that's what people is missing, bro, when it comes to this thing of passion, when it comes to living, you know what I'm saying? It's like, bro, I feel like the images that they have in their mind, sometimes maybe it's just not bright enough for them, you know? And because it's not bright enough for them, they don't have enough energy into it. And that means they don't have enough emotion into it, whatever it is. And if it is charged like that, it's just incorrectly charged. And I just think they just need to pay attention to, okay, what is it that generally makes me want to move forward in life that I love doing, whatever that may be. To me, it just happened to be communicating, talking to the world about topics like this and recording. So that's where my channel for that is. And that's what keeps me, you know, bright in the sense. And I found out for myself because, man, before, man, just like everybody else, man, I had my trials and tribulations that, you know, that made me question if it was even possible to even get this far that I'm doing, you know, even to be on a podcast, you know, or even just to communicate my process. You know, it's a whole nother level of self-actualization, you know, that you have to come across.
Absolutely, man. And I'm reminded of I think it's a Picasso quote. He said the creative adult is the child who survived, right? And like when I think
Yes.
of that, you know, it just describes my whole process as well,
Fuck
because, you
yeah.
know, if I hadn't been creative, I wouldn't have been that problem solver, you know?
Bro, it's like every artist or anybody that wants to create is like, we all know that to this core. Cause I always feel like I always had to like hang on, like my inner child always had to hang on to whatever it is to make it here. And I know that's what I'm expressing through 100%, man, 100%. Because not too long ago, one of my levels of mastery sessions I was telling everybody that was learning from me that I felt there was a part of me that I dropped or I lost in my process. This process I was just telling you about, that, man, I'm losing something. And what it was is that I got too caught up on the business, the networking, this, that, and the third, and I lost the childlike play of when I first initially picked up the camera. Like, you know, when you first pick up a toy, it's like, bro, you fucking got goblins and ghosts and shit going on, and you got, you know, your own action figure doing this, that, and the third. And I was missing that because I remember that as a child with me and my friend, we used to have action figures back in the early 90s. You know, I'm 91, baby. So early mid 90s, all we had was action figures and shit, you know, Spider-Man and things of that nature. And I remember just going into a whole nother world, and I lost that in my craft, and that was such a key element of appreciation that I saw that slowed down, that I lost, just, you know, to keep that creative flow coming, you know. And it's very interesting to see that.
Yeah, man, it's definitely important to keep that childlike quality alive, right? Like I think that charisma is right between playfulness and seriousness. If you go too much into one end, you know, you end up losing that edge, right? You become either a dancing monkey or like a rigid person. And yeah,
Yes. And
yeah,
that
it's
was me
like
for a minute too, man. Like, fuck, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, shit, before all this process, before I started taking myself serious and all this shit, man, like I was super uncomfortable to be around. Like I was just like uncomfortably quiet, you know, like there's a way to be quiet and smooth in the room, which I'm learning now, right? There's a way to be quiet and open. And before I was just used to be quiet and closed because I went too off on that side of the fence. So yeah, man, right on that. It's true.
For sure, man. And another thing that I want to bring up is, this archetype of the destructive artist. Now, I've been trying to break this one for a long time for myself and for a lot of other people, but it's so ingrained into society that a lot of people go overboard. You see a lot of celebrities doing this and things like this. What is some advice that you would give to somebody who's maybe taken on a persona of the struggling artist or the destructive artist, and how can they transmute that into the empowered creator?
Wow, that's such a very powerful question. I will have to say, you have to give up the idea that your craft or whatever it is that you're seeking to create is not valuable to the world. That has to be removed because, listen, it took me like 2 years just to get started. I just started taking my craft seriously this year and a half or so. Now, if I would have, because I had that mentality of like, man, I'm supposed to like go through this and go through that and struggle. Yes, there is a time for that where it's gonna pop up, but to live in that is incorrect. And to devalue, because what happens is you dilute your craft as you move forward, because every time you create, you pull back. We're not accepting the full length of the potential of that individual piece or craft that you're creating. And I saw that for myself when I was creating film. I kept thinking like, well, the industry is oversaturated. Anybody can do this, anybody can do that. And that sap way of thinking is just so incorrect to mix it, to dilute. Just think of your craft as like a pure essence, man, that's just sacred purity. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to dilute it with anything less than positive and just forward moving in that. So don't devalue yourself by thinking that it's not as valuable to the world as much as it is to you, because any artist can create that. That is the power of an artist. We give the value to what we create. Nobody else can. The same way how Gucci can say this white t-shirt is $3,000 and Hanes can say it's $10, right? It's the creator behind the piece that says how valuable is this piece. So step into that, and explore that. Really just explore that and the journey of that, because that's going to be a ongoing evolution that every artist must encounter.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, man. That's so powerful, because I think about a lot of brands out there, and once you really familiarize yourself with a certain kind of industry, you notice that people are sometimes very misaligned in the sense that they're saying things, but they're not doing it, or they're doing things, but they're not speaking about their process, right? And so when you match those two, when you get into that alignment, you get that brand integrity. Now, it comes down to, again, values. And I know that you've been kind of also interested in the whole stoicism process, as it's a part of the AZD journey, right? So how has that stoic mindset helped you to cultivate your strengths?
Shoot, bro. Let me I can start off with the ones I have tatted on me, because those are the ones, I actually took I'm taking to the grave, which is I have a Morfati tatted on my belly with flames on it, right? Because thing about a Morfati is that it tells you that you have to love your fate. You have to love what it is that you're going through. You have to love this life. You have to really take into account of all that's happening, good and bad, and to keep yourself in the middle of it. Don't get too caught off on either thing that's happening, and accept it. And the biggest quote or phrase that's related to Morfati says that it's like a flame, right? Anything that gets thrown into it makes the flame bigger. So I think of that of every obstacle that goes into my flame. I'm like a ball of flame that just rolls forward, and everything that just in front of me that's meant to stop me is going to just make the flame grow and big. And that's what I've done to keep growing in my character. Like I seek it out because I know that's the only thing I'm going to get strong with. It's like knowing that your kryptonite is going to kill you for that distinct moment, but once that's over, it's like a phoenix effect happens right after that, where you become greater, right? And that's what I continuously seek every day. And then I have Memento Mori tatted on my legs, which is I have Memento Mori on one leg and one on the other leg. So every time I walk, I'm reminded that it could be my last step, right? It could be my last whatever it is, right? But one thing about Memento Mori that lets us know that one moment that we might die is that if that's true, then, you know, it was, I believe, at least I could say, is that I was born on time. Like whenever I was meant to come here, I was here. Therefore, when it's time for me to go, it's going to be on time as well. So therefore, everything that happens in between it has to be true as well. Everything must be on time. But the awareness that I need to grow into, I will step into what I need to step into. And Stoicism helped me solidify my character and the balance of knowing these ups and downs that we experience in life, and how to keep myself neutralized and master and being a master in the middle of this pendulum swing that we have in life. So that's what I keep locked in on, just those key factors.
Man, that sweet spot. I love it, man. Yeah. So you're the walking sweet spot in a sense. You're like going through the world, coming
Bro,
from that space.
it's powerful, man. It's so powerful because I remember when, you know, I was living the other way where, you know, I was just allowing everything to just take me wherever life take me. I was like a fucking leaf in the wind. You know, if it blew me to the good side, I'm like, yes, I'm happy as shit. And then when I'm over here, I'm like, oh shit, this shit sucks. And then you start seeing that for you to accept the, you know, the good, you must accept the bad that comes with it. It's the same fucking coin, you know?
Yeah, man. You used to be a leaf in the wind. Now you are the wind.
I am the winner. I control the fucking wind.
Thanks, man. Oh,
That's the
man,
power
that's
of the
incredible.
master.
Exactly, man. That's so powerful. Man, so what I noticed in both of those Stoic concepts that you mentioned is this idea of acceptance, right? It's like amor fati is embracing your destiny, and memento mori is like a reminder to live now and do things now in the moment. And so, yeah, it's this idea of acceptance, which is also flow state frequency, you know, in a sense where if you resist the process, right, if you add more resistance to it, it's not going to be a lot easier. It's going to make it much more difficult, and you're adding more barriers or layers in front of you, right? So what is the importance of, you know, really, you know, overcoming this resistance as an artist, as a creator?
Um, well, like you said, man, it's the state of mind of acceptance, right? You have to come into terms with life. Like you have to come with an agreement with life. Like at some point, you have to sit down with life, you and life at a table, at a chessboard, at a business table, whatever, and you have to draw a contract with life. That's what I feel like I've done. And meaning like, listen, this is what I know. This is what I fucking don't know. And I'm gonna do all that I can, all that I can and will to achieve these things. Now, everything else in between, like I'm gonna have to be forgiven of. I have to just understand that I don't know of, and I'm gonna make mistakes in between these gaps of unknowingness. But that's accepting that. So when the time comes, the recoil is not so harsh on you. You know what I'm saying? You can stick to it. Just like, you know, when you the military learn how to shoot a rifle, there's certain ways to hold it when the gun shoots. The same way when you're going after life, you have to know how to bounce back. And these key elements of having a state of mind like that in these moments is how it's going to help you not move and keep your feet planted in your visions and your goals and your aspirations, things of that nature. So it's acceptance, and it's a sense of, you know, as above, so below. So if I submit to the higher power, then the higher power ends up giving me what it is that I need when I step up and do what I need to do, right? And that's a whole nother teaching how to do that, but that's knowing how to just submit and accept what it is that you can't control, which is another Stoic philosophy.
Absolutely, man. Wow. That's incredible to think about. And to think that, you know, you have all this imagination as an artist, and there is this constraint of using this machine, you know, in a sense, which is the camera. And so how have you personally bridged that gap? Because I know the world is moving into a more technologically AI, you know, advanced civilization. Um, what do you believe is that kind of meeting in the middle of man versus machine?
You know, it's funny because I actually thought I had some thoughts about, just the evolution of machine and man and things of that nature. But the most beautiful thing that I keep seeing is that it all stems from man and the capabilities of our imagination. And I started seeing that as much as I myself have to keep facing this every day, which helps me keep going past it, is every fucking limitation that I have right now is just whatever limitation that is on my imagination. However far my imagination can stretch is just my limitation. Until I keep finding that edge and then expanding it. And sometimes it takes time and space. Maybe right now I have this imagination that goes so far, but I have to wait another 2-3 years to see what's the next reach or the next, whatever. I don't know. For me, it might be different from you or things of that nature, but with, this bridge of technology and seeing where, it's going in AI intelligence, virtual reality and things of that nature. Once again, it just shows you how far our mind can go because we're the one that's creating that. So why limit it only in that aspect? What if you took those concepts of AI and virtual reality into your own possession in your mind, right? That's literally what I've done with a camera. I believe that the mechanics and the breakdown of a camera, I've used those elements on how I now function in my imagination, because now I see cinematic images in my mind like a camera would, because I work so much with a camera. I see so much how it would look like for my character to walk into places. If I made a short film right now, going to the gas station to get, a drink or something like that, I could see my image doing that because my imagination has ingrained with the concept of a camera. So just being able to just, keep stretching this thing that it's a infinite thing to stretch, and that we're all seeing, and the way how I stretch is different from you stretching it. And that's what makes it so fascinating of hearing things like this, because now all these different perspectives into one makes one grand total of information that we all can now live through and experience, and keep growing that thing that we call imagination that we need, we desperately need in this world.
We do need it, man. And the thing about it is, like, it's funny how they call it augmented reality, because we are augmenting our reality constantly with our minds and our imaginations, right? Like, I'm walking through the day with augmented reality.
All day,
my
bro.
goggles are different. They see,
Yeah.
different things. And so, yeah, it's so funny. I don't think the virtual can ever replace the natural, because we are a part of a lineage, a part of a tradition that, believes in the nature's code. And I think that's a very important process to connect with our primal side as men. So as a part of this IMC process, I mean, how have you found that working with the animal world or working with nature has really helped you as an artist?
Man, it's fucking everything, bro. It's everything. Because that's a huge element that's being missed in this time era, man. As far as reconnecting to what, like we were just talking about, this evolution of AI and technology, which it's almost a fucking becoming the opposite of nature in the sense now, right? Because
Yeah, it's an illusion, right? It's
an illusion. It's not reality. It's not nature. It's not exactly what it is. And this animal primal instinct and drive that we all experience, that no living organism is free of, it helps us stay in tune to what it is that what this instrument is capable of doing. Is a reason why we're the only living beings that have this capability of imagination and this level of communication. And if you was to remove those two things from our instrument, we would just be like any other fucking animal that's out there. But that is a part of it that needs to be there. And I started seeing that the more I tapped into that, the more I can connect to the next man, right? And then I feel like it's a baseline to connect with any individual, and then you climb the ladder through intelligence from there. That's how I've learned to interpret it. So when I become the jaguar, if I become the leopard, in my environment, I connect to see who else can hit that frequency, which mostly is everybody, but some people are just, they're just lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't know what the fuck's going on, but instinctively it's in everybody and they can always sense it to some degree. And I like to meet people at least there before I climb the ladder of intelligence, and find where they are there. And if I can help them grow and stretch, and so be it. And if it's the other way around, where they can help me grow and stretch, we find each other there in that level of intelligence to move up. And but it's the core factor of, you know, connecting with another individual, you know, knowing that, hey man, you know, we're both driven by these things that we both can't seem to, you know, go past, but we all know is there and we can grow through it though at the same time, you know?
Yeah, man, definitely. Man, I think a lot of the philosophy that you're spitting today, you know, is very interesting because it definitely matches the character that you've created, which is yourself today, right?
Mm.
And you have a relaxed presence about you. And I think, you know, a lot of people are missing that kind of energy in today's day and age because, you know, everybody's in fear mode, everybody's in panic mode. And so, you know, that cool, calm, collected energy is really where artists best create and thrive, because that's that, you know, that they're not giving so much effort that they're burning themselves out.
You got to
Right.
be relaxed. You got to find that relaxed state. And you know what? Granted, I can say that for some people in a relaxed state, they might have, for them to be relaxed, they have to be more of a, you know, upbeat maybe, or more talkative or more whatever. That helps them keep relaxed, right? But you have to find out for yourself. Me, I'm just a laid back person when I find myself in that relaxed state, when I want to be tapped in or be more in that creative process, because I know that for anything to once again, once you relax, you allow that stream or that connection to flow more fluidly versus when you have tension in your mind or in your body in that sense, you know. And with an artist, you know, artists must have that. They must have that.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, in your own process, how have you connected with your own process of spirituality during this process? Because I see you have these monk beads on. I have them as well, and you know this is kind of a proclamation to the world that we are spiritual beings, right? First and foremost, we are spiritual beings, and so how do you connect to the source or God or, you know, energy?
You know, I would say directly directly from whatever it is that I can create it to, you know, to be, in a sense. Like, you know, that's a question that, you know, I can't say everybody wonders, or, you know, things of that nature. But for me, I've always wondered, like, this ability that I have with filmmaking, it's something that is not all me, and I know that. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I found this thing that we call God, because there's things that happen in my life or things that I'm capable of doing that I know to some extent there's just no explanation for how I did that. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, 97, like no lie, I can count on one hand how many projects I've probably premeditated, probably 3 out of the hundreds that I've done. All of those has literally been in the moment, me seeing things and locking in on it and creating it. Now, how did it get that good and that great? There's a part of me that's doing that I'm aware of, but how is doing it at that level, I don't know. Right now, whatever that area and space is that I'm aware of that is there, I seek to connect to that more and more so that I can expand more areas in my life, because for some reason that's the only area in my life that I can see that. I can see that element of God, the element of the unknown, the element of this divine, you know, connection that I'm seem to be having, right? Because I don't, you know, it's something that not too many people can do, you know. So if that's true, then I started seeing for myself that, and once again, that's something that's internally. That's not something that's just given to me because I just sat here and said, you know, it just landed on my lap. This is something that I had to internally look into, like consciously, like literally sitting here in a chair, in the ground, wherever I'm comfortable with, and going inside and being like, okay, where is this thing? Because everywhere I look outside is just, it's failing me, right? And once I started seeing that, and I really made that true connection, I just started to, you know, read more, you know, listen to music differently, finding different kind of music and frequencies to listen to, being mindful of the friends that I have, who I'm communicating, the kind of the quality of communication lines that I have. All these things play every single part into this thing that I connect to called God, that I could say is God, right? Because all those things give, you know, thankfulness to, you know, like I remember before I didn't give a fuck. I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like they could do whatever. Yes, to a degree they could do whatever. But if you're close to me in my tribe, there's a certain code that we need to all be by so we can move as a unit, so we can move forward wholeheartedly. Not, you know, like I got to be careful if, you know, you think certain way, you're gonna like, all that takes away your creative and your connection with God. I feel like, right? You're letting God know that, hey man, like I'm gonna allow them to destroy what it is that you've given me. Like I don't believe in that either, you know. So staying true to what it is that you think life is and how you can create in it is just how I keep creating in this thing that we call God. And how I think I found him is just this creative space in my imagination of just an infinite possibilities, right? Anything that I want to create is gonna be possible, and I know that for a fact. Like I wanted to be on podcasts. At some point, I was a terrible communicator, bro. I couldn't get a fucking sentence out my mouth. Now I'm out here flowing, spitting high level knowledge, things of that nature, you know, pretty fluid if you ask me. I don't know. I think I'm doing better than how I used to, but I remember seeing that, and that has to come from that space that I never saw before, which is, you know, through God.
Absolutely, man. And I love this idea of that Julia Cameron brings up of God is the acronym of good, orderly direction, you know, and it's like taking the perspective of God being a process, because it really is. And we're on a certain process as well. And I think through the momentum, through that movement, through that flow state, that's where we really tap in and connect with this, you know. It's not from, you know, of course we can, of course, go into our inner worlds and be in stillness, but as a filmmaker, you know, stillness still is frames per second, you know, there's still movement involved, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's beautiful, bro, because like, bro, these, you know, what I come to see is that it's literally, we're all this process of God waking up inside of us. These aha moments that we have, we're like we know that we just leveled up in awareness. That's God waking up in you, right? And when that starts to happen, your craft, your passion just comes, and it just comes along. Like it just comes along. That's what happened with me. That moment I was like, you know what? Shit is just not looking right now. Like, this is not how I wanted shit to go. Like, well, how did I get here? Why am I doing this? Right? That is the moment of my inner God being like, okay, you're out of order, like way out of order. And then from there, I was like, okay, I can't keep blaming these people, because I see the more that I blame, the more disorganized and destructive my life gets. And because I was so much on that frequency, on that spectrum, and the spectrum, I was so much on blame, and my blame was so amplified. And for me to get out of that space, I saw that the God in me had to wake up. And that's what those aha moments are, you know, those moments like, okay, why did I do this? Okay, now I see I could be better and I can grow. And whatever it is for me and for you, it's the own flavor of it. That's just how this game is being played. That's what I'm seeing, you know, because I had to just answers that only I can answer. Same thing, I'm sure, true to you, because your life experiences, you know.
Definitely, man. I do remember experiencing that blame game strategy myself, man. I think that hurt people do hurt people, you know. It's true.
Yeah.
And you know, that negativity can grow if it cultivates, you know, if you put attention to it. And I think that, you know, as a conscious creator, you can discern the energy, you can discern the vibe. You're like, oh, someone's messing up the set right now. You know, what would Master Pyro do?
You become the observer, man. Like, man, just the template of filmmaking is literally life. itself. It's the Manu tech that I've learned from AZD and things of that nature, right? Just becoming a character. Like through this awakening process, you become the director where you can see the play happening. You could be like, hold on a second, cut. You fucking up. You know what I'm saying? You fucking up. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. You over here, you're giving too much. And it could literally be you that's playing all these parts that you can call yourself on. You know what I'm saying? And that, hey, man, you could do better than that. You can be a little bit more relaxed right now. Or, hey, look, no, honestly, you're too relaxed right now. You need to be a little more of this in this scenario, things of that nature. But you don't do it in a judgmental state. You just do it as an observer state that's doing his job as an observer, calling the shots of what needs to be done for the play to roll, how it's supposed to play, right? And I noticed that the moment that I came into my alignment in that, things worked out better in my environment because I'm playing the role that needs to be played. Things suffocate or fuck up in a sense because you're not playing the role you're supposed to play to make things roll, make things move. You see what I'm saying? And that's something that I've been working on to, do more of. How do I see somebody here? Like, for example, just interact with my environment. Now, when I go to the store, I give myself a soda, whatnot. I interact with somebody that's looking right here next to me, looking for something. I might be like, man, hella decisions, huh? Yeah, man, life. And I just go pick one, right? And just that little something, I gave something to life. It's not even about him. It's about life. Because when he walks away, that's an experience for him. Now I go to the register. She rings me up. Anything else? Man, I've been thinking about that all day. But you know what? Now, for right now, I don't know. Whatever I come up with, I just learn how to draw in life and then give it back out to life. And doing this thing, helps me become more of the observer and not getting too caught up in the present moment. Like, yes, live in the moment, but don't get caught up where it drags and you're holding on to the experience and things of that nature. You want to know how to experience it and let it go. Experience and let it go, right? So life can do the same with you. It'll just be giving you shit, man.
Man, that metaphor is, I think, extremely powerful for people where they don't look at life as almost like this seesaw, but rather as, oh, I have to compromise this for this thing, and I have to do, instead to look at your life like a director with different scenes. This is primarily one of the reasons why I wrote my book, because I got to this point where I was like, what if like I was being watched constantly, like what if 24/7 or just being watched, like reality show, would I hold my character? Would there be integrity involved? Would there be, all this thing?
There
And
we
I
go.
started thinking about this, man. And yeah, it shifted my whole worldview. That whole idea of this world's a stage, we
That's
have
the
our
power
entrance
of
and exits.
storytelling. That's the power of
Absolutely.
storytelling. And this is why the AZD process, the IMC Nation process is so powerful, because we become the character in the story timeline that we are creating for ourselves. So this gives us a triple effect towards life, because not only are we playing it, we're observing it, and we're calibrating as we're moving, because we can see it as that observer point of view as well. I always give thanks to AZD, and AZD of course gives thanks to I always butcher his name, but the creator of TM, Transcendental Meditation, right? I always give thanks to that, because coming from my background, shit, bro, doing any kind of meditation was nowhere near my reality, man, or just wanting to do those things. And even if I did become aware of it or even learn something, to actually put it into practice is a whole nother conversation. But the fact that that's something that I actually do and am aware of, it's more of that effect of becoming the observer, because in that technique you learn how to separate these concepts in the mind that has been created through society and things of that nature. And you just get that pure observer state of point of life. And I believe that is the director position, right? The one that sits in a chair and sees everything from not only what the audience sees, but what the audience doesn't see outside of the screenplay, right? And the after effect of what nobody else is going to see after the film is already made. It's the same thing like you. Like right now, you might have an idea what you want moving forward. Nobody sees that right now. But when it comes on to the screenplay, they're going to see what they see. And only you can make the shots on what needs to be done for you to play that character that you've seen play out. But the trick and the goal is that when you do play it out, not to get too caught up where you just, you take it too seriously when all is all said and done. You know, you just know how to reobserve it and recreate to the next scene, whatever that next scene is for your character.
Man, that's so powerful. I'm just thinking about this idea. Just got to download as you're speaking. You know, this idea of, you know, as a filmmaker and a director, you both cut, right? You cut on the scene, but then you're also cutting out parts of the film that you're editing out. And I think it's so important that we look at word etymology, is also something that I personally got introduced to from the AZD process. You know, AZD drops a bunch of these words and root words and etymologies and, you know, sacred syntax. And I'm obsessed with words, like, you know, as a rapper myself as well. I kind of, you know, I look at world through that filter, as I know that you look at the world through your filter. And so, man, the word decide means to cut. You know, so to cut out all other options that don't align with yours. And I think it's so important that from that observer space, you were going cut, you know. And
Oh, it's so
yeah,
much
man.
like life, bro. It's so much like just like if I was to have a film strip, like if I was to film a timestamp in your life, it'll be in one film strip. Like you have the ability to see that in your mind and literally cut out the pieces that just don't align with the final, you know, evolution of what you're going for. The problem is that the way how we've been programmed or whatever the bullshit is that we just focus on what we can't change, where we lose our power in, right? We're so stuck on what we can't change. Well, let's just get rid of it. Your mind literally has the ability to get rid of it. You know
That
what I'm
is
saying?
so powerful again,
But your
man.
limitation stops at I have to deal with it. But you need to grow your imagination and your ability and your mental factory, knowing that you can literally go above it and say, I don't care about that. I care about what's moving me forward, which is this part, this part, this part. And this is where appreciation and thankfulness comes from. See, when you're not appreciative and thankfulness, your energy naturally draws there because you don't have enough of that stocked up yet. You know what I'm saying? You have more stocked up on ungratefulness and what you don't have versus what you do have. And this is something that I had to come to terms on again in my process. This is not something that just happens one time. Yeah, right now it might click, but as time goes on, it's gonna start changing again. And then you're gonna have to realign it. And that's what I'm seeing. And I had to come back to our realization, like that's when I knew I lost the childhood in me a little bit, because the childhood is always grateful that we're in our world playing with these fucking things. You know what I'm saying? Like we got an extra 10 minutes to play on this. Thank God. Like, you know what I'm saying? So cut out this shit that you don't need, you know, you don't want. It's not in alignment to your character, you know?
Yeah, I love that idea of, like, you know, why are you looking through the deleted scenes? You know, that's footage you
Exactly.
don't need
Everything's in the
anymore.
trash. Everything's in the trash, man. And you know what it
Yeah.
is, man. Like, come on, man. Stick to what actually worked out. Stick to what it is that worked. Amplify those shits, man. There's plenty more where that came from. The same way there's plenty more if it's true for that side, then it's true for the other side. If there's plenty more where this other shit came from, then why I'm gonna keep focused on it? It's gonna give it to me anyways. Let me just keep focused on what it is that I want, because it's gonna give me this too as well. But if I stay focused more on over here, I'm gonna actually get more of it, and I'm gonna be more thankful. And I'm gonna remain more in that thankful frequency, because my focus is on what I do want, and I'm seeing it. I'm actually getting it. I know I am, and I'm just, you know, it happens, man. And that's why being in the middle helps you, because you keep the intention there, but you don't get dragged around when it happens. You know what I'm saying? Same thing when you keep your attention at whatever happened, but you don't get dragged around when that happens as well. You let it process. It's called processing those feelings, right? I got the girl that I want. Oh, I'm gonna process the fuck out that shit. I'm gonna make sure I feel that shit, because I want this shit again. And when I lose the girl, hey man, it's part of the fucking cycle. I'm gonna let that shit process again. You see what I'm saying? You gotta let both ends of the fucking spectrum play out, you know? And I feel like that's where I help people point towards in their levels of mastery. You have to start seeing things as they are. There are both sides of this. Same way how it goes in, it comes out. So once it goes out, you have to let that shit process.
Yeah, you have to really let it sink in. Yeah, in the flow state, they have this concept called recovery phase, where after you go through a very like peak experience, right, you have to sit with it. You have to reflect on it. You have to rest. If you don't get that rest and really sit with it, you're not going to be able to, you're going to make the same mistakes, right, the next time. And so that's why it's so important to go into this. Man, something that's coming up for me, Pyro, is like, I think of Bruce Lee's idea of, mechanical instinct when I think of you. You have that instinct behind the camera, but then you have the mechanics of the camera as well. And I
Mhm.
almost see you like incorporating your world, like, a blooper is playing in your mind that'll make you laugh, or like, this scene is a be real, that.
Bro, you know what? And the beautiful thing that I'm seeing is, fuck, bro, it also comes with just having the confidence to step into these things too, man, because I see it, bro. I see it play out, and I've experienced with it where I'm like, okay, I see this window of opportunity that it's time for my character to be playful and fun. And I'll see when I don't act on it because I'm too much stuck in my head. I see how that whole moment just fucking, rotted, just went bad. You know what I'm saying? And then when I step into it, it turns into gold. Like, it changes the next person's life. This person just has this whole realization and thoughts about this, and that which helps you in turn become better, because that's energy that comes back to you, that has to, it's a deposit that you made, into life. Listen, I came to a point of realizing that it's literally me in life that I'm experiencing. Like you are an extension of life as well. Everybody's going to listen to this, an extension of life as well. And how I just respond to this is going to help people respond to me. It comes right back. So if I respond with a certain energy, I'm going to get it back. Now, maybe I won't get it back directly through you guys right now, right? But it's a deposit that I made. Now, the mastery of it is to let it go. Is to let it go, because only when you let it go and you don't have that intention of I need to get it back is when life, has that resistance of giving it back to you because of that tension of I gotta have it back. But when you have the flow of like I'm gonna get it back, it comes back in ways that you're like, how the fuck did this happen? Those moments I live for, and I literally seek those out. Like, how did that happen? Well, I must have did something back then that I know I must have did that got this, because that's the only way it's happening. When I did the opposite, a whole lot of unfortunate situations just kept on coming up over and over and over. And it's like, okay, I'm doing something here. And it's the same thing on the other side of the fence.
Right, man. It's powerful how you just described that experience of detaching, because I always used to think because I'm detaching from something, I don't care about it. But it's that the fact that you care so much about it that you're detaching from it.
But see, but that means internally you have to have that. You got to come into terms with what you know is just true. So if you're letting go because you know it's true, in the sense of it's necessary for me to let go of this so I can get my return, or I can move on in life to keep producing, then you must do that. But if you're doing it, if you know you shouldn't and you're trying to do it, that's where you have to come into that understanding of like, okay, where is it that's pointing me in a direction where I shouldn't be? Then not. Then that's where you got to explore in yourself and see. Maybe something might come up. And maybe it's like, okay, maybe there's a certain time limit or time span that you maybe, okay, maybe I need to wait like another week or two. Like, let me give you guys an example. My girlfriend not too long ago, she was thinking about quitting her job because they was enforcing the vaccine. And she was like, they said January 4th, blah, 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 blah. And, but I know how that industry, how that system works, because I used to work there. And I was like, you know what? Wait until the last day. Like, wait until January 4th. Like, walk in there on January 4th until they say, listen, if you don't got the vaccine today, then you can't show up tomorrow. Wait until that happens. And she was like, oh, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. I did this. And long story short, literally like a week ago, they were like, we're prolonging the mandate. So if you don't have it until January 4th, it's okay, blah, 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 blah. And I said, you see, if you would have jumped with that, then you would have been out of a job and you would have been looking for another job. And if you would have been patient and waited and let things ride out to the end, then you gotta meet life where sometimes they're saying you gotta meet it at. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're in it for how you really want to be in it, you gotta meet it to its limits, and then let it face you at that point. And that's the perspective I gave her on.
That's so powerful, brother. Man, this has been an awesome conversation, man. There's so much value that you dropped, man. Wisdom tsunami after wisdom tsunami. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
Thank you, man. One last message for the audience. If they could hear you through a megaphone, let this statement shatter their ears. I mean, what do you want to say that ripples across the globe right now that you want people to hear? What message?
Yeah, I would say, man, I would say if you're listening to me and you understand the vibe that I'm coming from, I would say that giving up is just never the option. Giving up is never a consideration. That is not the way of a master. A master understands that failure, disappointment, all these negative things comes with the path of becoming the great and the best of the best. It comes with it. So when those moments comes of giving up, because they are going to come up, and they're going to come up in forms that you don't even wish to dream of. But that is what makes you the master that you claim to be. And that is going to make you the next evolution that you seek for yourself. So don't give up, don't entertain it, and remain solid in the character that you say that's best for you.
Amazing, bro. I love that. It's always like, yeah, failure is like a transit station for success. Yeah, I love that
Has to
mindset,
come, bro. It has to come, bro. If that doesn't show up, I'm actually kind of concerned.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I need to see like, well, what's gonna mess up right now? Like I know it's coming, because I'd rather be more ready for it than not. And it is what it is when it comes either way, but gotta be ready for it.
Incredible, bro. So where can people find you, man? This is time to plug yourself. Yeah, let people know.
Yes, sir. You can find me on Instagram, master_pyro spelled with a 0. You can find me on YouTube, Master Pyro, the IMC monk. And in the link in my bio on my Instagram, I have my link tree where you can find my Telegram group, Levels of Mastery. I go live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's a free group, and that's a free live session. And of course, if you want to take it to the next level with me, I have a tribe called the Rising Flame. That's something you can subscribe to, and I give a whole bunch of stuff and programs and things of that nature for all my events and things of that nature. And yeah, that's where you can find me at.
Phenomenal, brother. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode of Enter the Flow Zone. Master Pyro, thank you. Os, may the flow be with you.
Thank you for having me, brother. Os.
Os, man.